actually went to college together and to law school together, and about 2 years ago, John and I were talking on the phone. He said, "I'm moving back to Kentucky from New Orleans," and I said, "That's funny, I am too." And here we are today. John has been one of the main reasons that this whole program has been put together with Residency Unlimited. So he is also special counsel to the Cabinet for Economic Development in Frankfurt, and I'd like to introduce John.
Good morning. So I want to talk to you today about art and economic development. Okay. And I'm going to get used to this before we're through. The question is, what is this? What does art have to do with this? Jobs. And in Texas, when they asked one of the directors of their economic development cabinet what art had to do with the economy, they responded, well, we don't look at art in Texas as a play or a performance or a statue. We look at it as a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so it's a huge industry with many, many components, both for-profit and non-profit, that make up a hugely important sector of our economy. Maybe not as big as Bub's, but you know, it's getting there. It's also been used as a significant tool for urban redevelopment and planning. And this is what has been coined the cool cities approach. And nobody's done it better, I think, than Austin, Texas. And they've basically gone in and taken areas and redeveloped them to create commerce and create centers of commerce. That has had both an upside and a downside. But the gist of the approach is you get galleries, and with galleries come restaurants, bars, upscale retail. With this, you get creative clustering. And what does that lead up to? Well, this is the developer's playbook. And that's one of the central things that we have to look at when you look at art as an economic development tool. It's hugely important, but it does have limitations. It's not the be-all and end-all for economic development. It's great for redeveloping areas, just like the Nula district that we're in now. We see how significant the arts have, the impact of the arts have had on downtown local. So the question is, do the arts, do these creative clusters actually create high-wage jobs? Does it bring you to your best and brightest? And this has been really successful in New York, Boston, Miami, San Francisco. Where has it had less success? Well, in the Rust Belt cities and the flyover cities, which would include Louisville, has had some success, but not in terms of attracting the Silicon Valleys and that kind of economic development into areas. So there are what I would call choice influencing considerations related to the Cool Cities approach, and that's, who does this benefit? Well, it definitely benefits real estate developers, and it, to that extent, benefits the local communities, because they do thrive when you see this kind of redevelopment like we've had here. Has not done that much to create the high-wage jobs. It's created problems with densities and increased homelessness and increased housing costs. You see that in Manhattan, where it's for people who are actually working in Manhattan, it's more and more difficult to actually live in the city. So what can states and cities do to balance that Cool Cities approach with their overall approach to economic development? And that would be to develop an overall economic strategy that understands the limitations of the Cool Cities approach, but also integrates the intrinsic advantages that each location has. And those are affordable housing, historical and cultural legacies tied to very specific skills that are specific to the region at strategic locations, and the authentic cultural clout of the location. And what's the most important cultural clout that every city or location has? Well, that's the people who make up the place. And this is an important consideration too, because we have The people, who are the people? Well, that needs to be everyone. And as we've seen, the increase in diversity, diversity brings greater innovation. You have more people at the table, different ideas and different approaches to problem solving and creativity. So we've seen as women's rights have increased, minority racial rights have increased, gay, lesbian, gender and transsexual rights, and immigrant rights. So this is a matter of everybody coming to the table to create a very diverse workforce, and diversity should lead to innovation. Now, when you look at our historical economy, we've gone from a manufactured-based economy to consumer-based, and here we are today at the technology and innovation-based economies. And when you look at the millennial generation, I think 90% of millennials all say that they want to own their own business and be entrepreneurial, which is huge, and that's a significant shift in that demographic focus in terms of what people can do. And with technology, you can start a technology firm in your own basement. And so this is a huge opportunity for both us as a local economy and as a nation. Oppression, divisiveness, that is not going to get us there. This does not lead to innovation, diversity and innovation. So, if everybody looks and thinks like this, the collective conscience is going to look like this. And if you don't do anything to change that, well, then you're going to get this. So, social reform, diversity, innovation. What else? Okay, and this is largely what I do. Tax incentives. Everybody hates taxes, but it's good when you can turn those around and actually make it advantageous to get the kinds of development that you want to see within your economy at specific locations. And this is something really, really important for Kentucky to look at, but because it's been done very, very successfully in other locations. These are artistic, cultural, and tax-exempt districts. And those involve exemptions for artists, galleries, theaters, developers, property owners, and historic tax credits to utilize that capital that we were talking about, the housing market and available space to the greatest advantage. Artist housing, huge. And like Natalie was talking about with the residencies, it's so hard for an artist today to live and work in New York. It's so expensive, and if you're trying to make it as an artist, housing is one of the most important things, and there's lots that can be done vis-a-vis tax advantages and low-income tax credits that can be directed towards artist housing to utilize. Historic preservation districts, great locations, great fodder for developing this type of tax incentive program. The tax exemptions and exemptions from income tax for artists. Those have honestly been found not to be a huge incentive for the artists because they just don't make that much, but for the galleries and other industries that support the arts, they can be very, very significant. Research and development tax credits, angel investor credits. The Rhode Island Tax-Free Arts District has been hugely successful. The Maryland Arts District, also very, very successful. In Ireland, the Irish Artist Tax Exemption, again, provides enormous tax incentives, and put one of my favorite bands, U2, up there because they've come under a lot of criticism because you have the extremely wealthy artists who've been able to take advantage of this, but at the same time, U2 is still in Ireland. That's a big part of their pride and cultural heritage, and there are a lot of other artists' organizations that those benefit as well. Hawaii has a very significant high-tech business tax credit. The Quebec cultural credits have been hugely successful. Then we get to back to the Soho effect. And that's what I was talking about in New York. Soho was a vibrant artist community at one time. You can't, unless they're a trustafari, you can't find an artist who can afford to live in Soho. And these districts have, especially in New York is a great example, have migrated from one location to the next and now have expanded out into Brooklyn. And again, great if you own property there, but if you're an artist and you don't, this is not going to help you. So this integrated approach to the economy, to economic development and the arts is very important, because it really has to be integrated across the board so that it's benefiting both the artists and the arts community and the industries that support the arts. And that all goes to sustainability, because to make these communities sustainable and a viable economic tool to continue, you have to approach it in such ways that allow them to continue to make artists and the people who work in these communities able to live there. So that is, thank you.